Alright, it's time for another episode of Random Thoughts with Crazy Mind, the worst video channel on YouTube. And today I'm going to be talking about why you should buy brokerage CDs instead of bank CDs or mutual funds, bond mutual funds. Now, this is probably not a video that's going to interest very many people, but if anybody ever does watch my channel or my videos, this will be a useful video for anyone that comes across the video. And I'm out here in a mesquite thicket because it's windy today and I'm trying to get a bit of a windbreak. And I'm not using the backyard studio that I normally use. So, why should you buy a brokerage CD? And what is a brokerage CD? First of all, what is a brokerage CD? So, banks sell CDs. You probably know what a bank CD is, how it works. You go to the bank, they offer you a CD. You put it into a 2-year CD or whatever, and they pay you 2% or whatever it is for those 2 years, and at the end they give you the interest, or maybe they give you the interest monthly or however it works. Now, what these banks will do, because when they're dealing with bank customers, they're generally dealing with small depositors. So, you know, they're getting $500, $1,000, $5,000, $10,000, whatever at a time in a bank CD. It's harder for them to raise a lot of cash. So what they will do is they'll go out to the brokerage market where people have really big money, and they will offer brokerage CDs. And these brokerage CDs will pay a higher rate because they're trying to attract money. These brokerage CDs will pay a higher rate than the CD that they offer at the bank. So let's look at an example of that is effective as of today. Okay. Now, one decent place to put your money is Ally Bank. They have very good customer service. I have to give them credit. And they offer pretty good money market rates. Usually not the best money market rates, so I don't usually put my money with Ally Bank. But occasionally I have money in there, and having an account with them is very valuable. So I always have an account at Ally Bank. But I looked at recently saw that Ally Bank was offering a 2-year 2.85% CD through the various brokerage companies, Fidelity, Schwab, Vanguard, whoever you have a brokerage account with. If you have a brokerage account, if you don't have a brokerage account, you probably should have one. And maybe I'll do a video on why you should have a brokerage account in the future. That's a good idea. I'm going to do 52 videos in 52 weeks, and that sounds like a good idea for a video. So, note to self: why you should have a brokerage account. So, like I said, what was I said Ally Bank has or had one. I don't know if they're offering it right now. They might have sold out, but they had a 2.85% 2-year CD. So just before I decided to talk about this, I looked at Ally's site, and they had a 3-year CD for 2%. 3 years, you get 2% on their site. You get 2.85 through a brokerage CD. Now, that's a pretty good deal. You get 1% more than on their site. And why do they offer 1% more? Because they're aiming for a bigger, they want to attract more money. So they're willing to sell these CDs to wealthier people, and they know wealthier people will be looking for a better deal than the small deposit people that they have. So they basically are ripping off their customers because they don't know any better. So that's what happens when you go directly with a bank, typically a bank will take half of the interest and give it to you, and they'll keep the other half, which is sort of what's happening with Ally Bank there with their CD. So, so I just put pretty much all of my money into brokerage CDs. So how does a brokerage CD work? You buy the brokerage CD as basically a bond in your brokerage account, and you just go in there, you look for the CDs. They have a little inventory of CDs, which you can see on their website, and then you place an order, and then you buy a CD, and then you hold it, and it pays interest, usually semi-annually, every 6 months. Sometimes they will pay monthly, just depends on the CD. But most of them will pay every 6 months. You'll get an interest deposit, and you can buy 3-month CDs, you can buy 1-year CDs, 6-month CDs, 5-year CDs. You can buy all the way out to 30-year CDs. I bought a 30-year CD a few years ago at 4% that was callable, because I knew that it wasn't going to be, I knew interest rates were not going to be that high the way they thought they were going to be. And so, they had risk. They didn't want to take the risk of putting out a 30-year CD, so they made it callable, so they pay you a little bit more. I usually buy callable CDs because you get a higher interest rate, and I don't generally want to lock my money into CDs for a very long time. So, but if I don't have anything like putting it in the stock market or whatever, then I prefer to put it in a CD. Then I can get a higher rate, and if it gets called away, no big deal. I just put it back into a money market or whatever later, and generally I'll be able to buy a callable CD, or later on I'll just buy another callable CD if I think they're good value. But anyhow, as I say, you can get a much higher value on a CD by buying a brokerage CD through Charles Schwab, through Fidelity, through Merrill Lynch, Bank of America, TD Ameritrade. Well, TD Ameritrade is owned by Charles Schwab now. None of the discount brokers. You don't want to go through one of these like really, really deep discount brokers. They won't probably have those CDs. You have to go with like one of the major brokerage firms. They will have the CDs, and they'll generally all have the same ones. Sometimes they're different. Sometimes one bank will offer a CD through Charles Schwab that you might not be able to get through Fidelity or Vanguard or whatever, but generally they have the same ones across the board. But sometimes not. So if you have a lot of money, it's useful to have different brokerage accounts, different places, so that you can take advantage of that sort of thing. If you do, which most people aren't going to do that, obviously. But anyhow, what else was I going to say? Oh yeah, brokerage CDs are a much, much better way of buying than buying a bond and mutual fund. So, like if you were to buy a bond mutual fund, which bond mutual funds are terrible, 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 terrible investments right now, but at some point in the future, they might be a better better opportunity. And you might want to put money into a bond mutual fund and earn some interest, like a Ginnie Mae fund. Actually, all bond mutual funds are pretty bad except for Ginnie Mae funds. Really, the only bond fund worth buying is the Vanguard Ginnie Mae fund. But here's the deal. If you buy a 5-year brokerage CD, you will outperform basically every single bond mutual fund that exists, because you're not getting any expenses. It's 0%, zero expenses in a CD, whereas bond mutual funds tend to have pretty high expense ratios, and they tend to take a lot of the interest. They have somewhere around 0.5% expense ratio. And that really kills your return, especially over time, especially in the low interest rate environment. So even Vanguard has very cheap expense ratios on their bond funds. But the problem with a bond fund is that when you are buying a bond fund, you are making a bet on interest rates. And so if interest rates go up after you buy your bond fund, then you're going to lose money and you're not going to make as much money. So, you want to buy bond or brokerage CDs so that you will always be getting a certain interest rate that you're happy with, and then once it matures, you can just buy another brokerage CD, and over time you're basically going to do what the bond mutual fund would have done if you were to do it over 20 years or something like that, but you're going to have fewer expenses. So a 5-year brokerage CD or Treasury bond. Brokerage CDs are better to buy because Treasury bonds you can't really buy because you got to put in like $250,000 to buy a Treasury bond, I believe. Or you can buy them through Treasury Direct, but then that's a big problem because you got to transfer the money into Treasury Direct, then you have to wait for an auction. Whereas you can just put in an order for a brokerage CD and you're basically going to make whatever the Treasury bond rate is, maybe better. Like right now, you can buy a brokerage CD for 2.85%, and Treasury bond rates are only 2.47 when I looked right before I made this video. So, that's a pretty good summary of what a brokerage CD is, I think. And so, if you have any questions, you can always leave them in the comments if anybody ever watches this video. And my next video is going to be about why I just put all of my money into the 2-year brokerage CD. So stay tuned for that next video, because this was the primer for my next video. And this has been another episode of Random Thoughts McCrae's Mind, the worst video channel on YouTube. So long, YouTube.